Hello and welcome to the first ever Tartan Touchdown Chat Show. Now, I know you'll be wondering what that means. With the Women's Flag Football League finals day just around the corner, we developed a format to allow us to speak to all teams across two shows. As always, Tartan Touchdown is a two-person hosting team, and tonight joining me is Gav. Gav, how excited for the new show?
Yeah, absolutely. We're chasing Scott Hansen. We've gone Hexabox tonight, so we're definitely getting up in the world now.
Excellent. Our guests tonight form 4 of the top 8 women's flag football teams in the UK. For our previews, we've paired them up with their first round opponents or the quarter-final opponents from the finals day to discuss these games. First up, representing the number 1 seed East Kilbride Pirates, it's Lizzie Murdoch. Lizzie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You?
Excellent, thank you very much for joining us. In the quarterfinals, East Kilbride are up against the London Flame and Meg McDonald. Meg, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent, thank you for joining us. Next up, we have the reigning and defending 9-time champion Coventry Cougars and Ellie Thorpe. Ellie, you are one of Tartan Touchdown's first ever guests. Welcome back, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Happy to be here.
Excellent. And finally, we have Leeds Samurai and Holly Clegg. Holly, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you to you all for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to talking through finals day with you all. For those listening and watching, let me talk you through how the format of the show will work tonight. First of all, we'll have a guest on to discuss their regular season, and then all our guests will go backstage while we're doing that. We'll then bring their direct opponents in from the quarterfinals to talk about their regular season before we have both players on screen at the same time to talk about their matchup on the finals day. We'll then repeat that format for the other two teams. Alright, so the only place we could start is with the reigning and defending champions. So Elliot, we're going to start with you and Coventry. So Lizzie, Holly and Meg, we're going to put you backstage temporarily and we'll bring you back on when it's your turn to discuss. So give me a wee second, I'll just swap this out. Let's see. And Holly. Perfect, there we go.
Hi, and we're kicking off for the first of our one-on-ones with the GB defensive captain and Coventry Cougars, Ellie Thorpe. Your eyes haven't deceived you if you're watching along on YouTube. Dan has disappeared, and like the Sam Darnold of our podcast has been replaced by our very own Sarah, who's stepping up into the breach with Dan's technical difficulties. So she'll be joining us for the rest of the show. But Ellie, obviously we're here to talk about the Coventry Cougars seasons. Of course, you are our first returning guest to the podcast. So again, welcome back. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, great to be back.
And I guess, obviously, Cougars, the big story for yourselves is going for that 10th national championship, and it was a really strong start to the season for yourselves. Obviously, from the very first game day, racking up 4 wins, including a couple of big wins against playoff opponents in London Flame and Leicester Huntsmen. So, I guess, how did you feel making such a strong start to the season?
Yeah, we were really pleased with the start we made to the season. Obviously, we never go into any game expecting a win, but to get 4 wins that first game day was important. We were actually missing a couple of our key players that game day because they were playing internationally. So we had Kelly Barrett starting at quarterback. She's very comfortable there now, even though it's not her kind of preferred position. She really got into the rhythm, and I think every season we see her becoming more and more versatile, which is great. And we were missing our star receiver, Grace Conway, as well. So, to get those wins without our starters or some of our starters was really special. And it was also kind of the debut performance for a lot of our new players as well. So seeing them get field time, getting those yards, making those stops was also really nice. So yeah, really pleased with that first game day.
And of course, it was actually a delayed start to the season for the Cougars as well, because you're participating in Champions Bowl during what was game week 1 for most of the other teams. So I guess, how did that play a part in setting your squad up for the season?
Yeah, it did make it quite hard for us because obviously we had one less game day than other teams. So our schedule was condensed to 4 games per game day. And that is intense for any team. Internationally, we tend to play 3 games in a day. At IFF tournaments, you would play a maximum of 3 games. So 4 games is challenging, and especially with a lot of our players playing both sides of the ball. It's a lot on your fitness. and even more intense in the kind of really poor weather conditions we've been having in the winter season. That really made it hard. It was so cold and windy, and yeah, it was a struggle. So yeah, really happy with how it went. It's a good start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess as the season went on, I mean, of course, it was a 15-1 campaign overall. Really went through piling up the victories. Had some big wins throughout the course of the season. I guess the one matchup that everyone had their eye on throughout the campaign was your crosstown rivalry with the Coventry Panthers, who I guess the scheduling gods, they saved it till much later on in the season. So I guess the first time you faced them was on game week 4, the penultimate tournament of the season, where you lost 31-13. So I guess how did that feel, kind of hitting that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a tough day for us. No one likes losing. But we didn't deserve to win that day. The Panthers played better than we did. I think every team has bad days where they perhaps don't play as well. And that was one of ours. I think it was a challenging schedule that day. That was our hardest game. It was the last game of the day. So it was never going to be perfect conditions for us. But they played better than we did that day. But I think kind of what defines you is probably how you come back from that. And that's kind of the statement and the mentality we wanted to take coming to that next game day. We draw a line under the loss. We learn from it. We put the work in during that kind of few week break, and then we come back stronger. So I'm glad that we kind of set the tone with that next game day and kind of prove that we can compete with them, and we can kind of put our stamp on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's, as you already started to touch on that, so heading into game day 5, yourselves and the Panthers had both qualified for the national finals, but I guess seeding was very much at stake, and you had, I'm just quickly doing that's an 18-point deficit to overcome in terms of the head-to-head to take that 1 seed and avoid, if you will, the East Kilbride Pirates in the earlier rounds of the competition. So just looking at that game day as a whole, you actually had, I think, 4 games scheduled. And in actual fact, just checking, I think you conceded minimal points for that entirety of that game day. In fact, you got out your opposition. The final of those 4 games was actually a forfeit, but against Nottingham, Coventry, and Nottingham Gold, 0 points conceded. So yeah, it was a heck of a statement. I mean, obviously to make in that Panthers game specifically, but 0 points conceded across that entire game day. You must really feel like you're peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of my highlights from the season so far. We've conceded the least points of all the teams. Our defense is really strong. We've played together for a long time. We have really good chemistry, and I think we've got better at adapting, during games as well. So I think that's something that always fills me with confidence going into a game. I know that our defense is really reliable and won't concede. We all go in with that mentality. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing at finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the stats that I can ring getting ready for the show tonight was 3.6 points conceded per game. So you're the number 1 in the league in scoring defense. So I mean, you're obviously the GB defensive captain as well. What is it that you think sets the Cougars defense apart as such an elite unit?
I think defense is so much about communication and rapport with each other. And I think the majority of the time we're on the same page. We know what reads our teammates are going to make, and then we can play. We can align ourselves with that. So I think that communication and that chemistry is just there. We've played together for a really long time. That being said, I'm starting to see that in other teams too. The Panthers, for example, Emma Dedico, I would say, is probably our best defensive back in the UK. And she's now got, talented players around her too. So they've also got very strong chemistry on defense. And you're starting to see that with other teams. I think it's great to see. We're not just playing standard, 2-2 anymore. Teams are playing around with new coverages, mixing it up. And that makes it more challenging, also more fun. So that's definitely what we're trying to do at Cougars a bit more as well, trying to push ourselves, trying to mix things up a bit more. And of course, get our new players on board with learning these different concepts.
Of course, and I think that's a really important point you make about new players coming on board, because as much as the Cougars have had consistent success over the last decade or so, there's always been that kind of theme change and being able to adjust. And actually, even looking back to your previous trip to national finals, you were missing Grace Conway from GB, who obviously had the ACL injury. Your quarterback was pregnant at the time. So I guess there's a lot that you've had to kind of deal with in terms of changes to the team.
Yeah, and I think being able to adapt and meet some of those challenges is what's kept us going. We are a resilient team. And we faced a lot of those kinds of challenges. Last year was really tough, but we found a way to, pull together and make things happen. I'm thankful that Grace is back. She's our starting receiver. She plays quarterback. She's an amazing defensive back. Having her back on the field, again, just fills everyone else with confidence. Our leading touchdown scorer, I'm sure, if we kept stats, she would be on that score sheet every time. But also having Millie back at quarterback as well has been really important. So it's just nice to have everyone back together. But at the same time, I think, life happens. Everybody has personal things going on. And football isn't everybody's entire personalities all of the time. So being able to adapt when people have to go off and have babies or have work things or have injuries, but then always making sure we're pulling together and finding a way to kind of overcome that adversity or all those challenges is important.
That's perfect. And I guess be remiss not to mention, I guess, one of the big stories from the Cougars in terms of this season, which is the hunt for number 10. We've seen the photos. I think certainly over the last few years, you've definitely been keeping count of how many titles are in the bag. How much, if at all, does that play into your mindset heading to Ravenscraig?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it is in everybody's minds. Everybody wants that 10th. Everybody talks about it to us as well. We're always hearing, oh, you're on the journey to the number 10. But that adds a lot of pressure as well. People kind of expect it. And also people, not in a horrible way, but people almost want to see something disrupt that kind of consistency. So we know it's going to be challenging. We don't think it's going to be a walkover. We're working really hard for that number 10. That's something that we've said from the start of the season. This isn't going to be easy. We're not the same team we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're a different team now, and the game is getting better. The competition's getting better. Everybody wants that number 1 spot, and they're coming for us. So, we know we have to work hard for it. But we're ready, we're ready.
Yeah, absolutely ready. And I think we can't wait to see how it looks come finals weekend at Ravenscraig. So we're going to take a little pause now, Ellie. So thanks once again for joining us while we speak to your opponent, or one of your opponents from the Leeds Samurai in Holly Clegg. So thanks for joining, Ellie, and we'll have you back in a little while to go head to head with Holly.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we're joined by Holly Clegg from the Leeds Samurai. So thanks once again for joining us, Holly. Tell us, how does it feel going back to another finals tournament with the Samurai?
Yeah, it's I'm really proud of the girls in the team this year. It's great to be there every year, but this year particularly, we've not had our quarterback for most of the game days. And so it's been a really big achievement showing people what we can do without her. Ruth's an incredible talent, and to get there without her is a testament to the rest of the players in the team and how well we've done and how well we've adapted. So yeah, I'm really proud of everyone.
Absolutely. And I think resiliency is probably a theme that's really jumped out to me looking at the season that you've had to this point. So I think there's 4 games you actually had were decided by a single score. So I guess you know what it's like to be in a battle. How does that help to prepare you for finals?
Yeah, I mean, finals day is always tough. And as I say, this year will be especially tough for us again. Ruth's not available for finals either, which is a big loss. So we're just going to go and see what we can do and have fun and, treat it as a celebration of the season and see what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I think there's certainly plenty to celebrate. Obviously, certainly getting to the finals in itself, fantastic achievement. You finished up with obviously with a winning record, and along the way you defeated a number of your fellow playoff contenders. So, just looking down the schedule, certainly I think the second game week, that's one that really jumped out to me, where you knocked off both the Sheffield Giants and the Manchester Titans on the same
That's the one we
day.
did have, Ruth. So, it was good. I think that in terms of the achievements, we, like you say, we've had hard-fought competitions, and that is the one that we had, Ruth. So I can't I can't say that was as hard-fought a competition. I mean, it always is, but compared to the rest of the tests that we've had across the season, that was a good game day.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a fantastic result, but you still obviously had some work to do, and obviously coming down to the final game day, you made sure that you got the wins that you needed to get into that crucial fourth seed. So you obviously had a couple of losses to again Sheffield and the Titans return the favour, but had those key wins against the Cheshire Huskies and the Titan Bees. So Ellie similarly had spoken about having to play 4 games on the one day. How was that for you, going through that run of multiple fixtures, knowing that you had to get those results?
Yeah, it's really tough playing 4 games. Obviously, we weren't anticipating that, but we obviously had the cancelled game day, so it was the only way that we and the Huskies would be able to have played the same amount of games as everyone else. So it was important that we did it. It's taxing, especially when you have a smaller team, and not everyone could stay for the entire day for that particular day as well. So in the last game, I think I can't remember how many players we had, but it was tough. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely could believe that. And I'm just looking even back to 2023. So talked about actually what it's like to be in a close game, but even at finals in December 23, you actually won a very narrow victory against the Amazons in the wild card, and played the Cougars pretty close before you went out then. So I guess, what do you think you'll need to do at the quarterfinals to make an impact?
The quarterfinals is the game against the Cougars. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're just gonna hopefully lock down our defense, and just work on it that way. It's always going to be a tough game playing the Cougars. Obviously, they're 9-time champs for a reason. But yeah, we're not giving up, and we're going to put on as good a fight as we can.
Absolutely. Well, I think what we're going to do at this point, Holly, thanks for giving your thoughts, is we're actually just going to bring you back in with your quarter-final opponent, obviously Ellie, who has just been speaking, just to get each of your thoughts just on the game itself. So Ellie, bring you back into the chat. Welcome back, Ellie. So we're just moving on to the conversation there, just actually reflecting the fact that your quarter-final matchup at Ravenscraig will be a rematch of your previous trip to finals 2023, where the Cougars edged out the Samurai in I guess a defensive classic, 6-2. So I guess, how do you prepare, each of you, for a game where you've not played each other all season?
I think it's oh, sorry. Last year the format was slightly different, so we had some cross-conference game days. So you kind of had met each other in the regular season, whereas this year you've got the North and the South conferences are completely separate. So I do think it's more challenging, having not seen those teams play for the season. You're going in a bit blind, so you're kind of counting on them playing in a similar way to they did last year, and trying to find whatever little clips you can. But there's definitely more of like an unknown element, I think, this year.
Absolutely. I guess likewise to yourself, Holly. Obviously, this is where we start to have these cross-conference fixtures. So what's it like kind of facing off against the unknown?
Yeah, I mean, as Ellie says, it's difficult. We don't know how they play. We don't know what positions people are playing. On both of the teams, we all kind of play both ways. And so not knowing the lineup before we actually step on the field, it is something that's going to be tough for both teams, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you've not really seen what's been going on too much over the course of the year, but you're not completely unfamiliar, given that this is a rematch from the previous season. So, having that little bit of knowledge, Holly, what are you expecting from the matchup?
Well, as Ellie says, their defense is great, as is their offense. So it's going to be difficult and challenging. As far as our team is concerned, we're just going to try and stay honest to the schemes that we've been running all year, and that's all we can do, and test them in the way that we know how to test them.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Holly. And I guess, Ellie, obviously you as the defending champs, we kind of talked about that already. You maybe come back to finals with a bit of a target in your back. Is that something that is, I guess, creates a bit added pressure for yourselves and your teammates?
Yeah, I think it does. I think, like I said, we really lean on our experience to pull us through. But, Leeds have a lot of experience on their side too, like Holly, like Sunshine, and Carl Taylor coaching them as well. They've got a lot of experience too. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I didn't realise Ruth wasn't playing. I was going to say she's got an excellent arm on her, which kind of took us a bit by surprise. I think the first few times we played Leeds. So relieved that she won't be playing, but I'm, definitely not underestimating what the Leeds side can do. You said we had a close game last year, could have gone either way. And I think our experience just did pull us through that, but we can't rely on that. We're going to come all guns blazing in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's shaping up to be an excellent match, and certainly if it's as tight as what we saw in 2023, and I think it's going to be an excellent game. So, absolutely best of luck to both of you in your quarter-final match, and well, certainly for one of you beyond that. So, we're really looking forward to seeing you at Ravenscraig. So, Ellie, Holly, thanks both of you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, I know.
So, joining us next, we have Lizzie Murdoch from the East Kilbride Pirates Black team. Lizzie, thanks once again for joining us. And what a season it's been so far. East Kilbride Pirates Black are the only undefeated team in the regular season. How does it feel to have made it to finals undefeated?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We came out with that aim, and yeah, it's nice to stick to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really been, I guess, a dominant season so far at that. So if we look at the stats, 42.5 points per game scored. It's number one, certainly in points scored, and pretty stingy in defence as well, 6.3 points conceded. So, I mean, you're doing it with some pretty commanding style. I think out of your 12 games that you've played, I'm seeing, I think there was 4 shutouts recorded. I guess maybe one of the questions I would put to you is, do you feel like you're ready for the challenge that comes at finals?
Yeah. We've worked hard since last year. We obviously walked away last year pretty disappointed, and we just put in a graph from then. We knew what we wanted out of this year. Like, we want to get back to that final and, try again.
Absolutely. And I think 2023, of course, that was your first trip as a team to the national finals, losing to the Coventry Cougars. So what do you think it's going to take from the Pirates to go that one step further?
I think, like, knowing how it felt to lose that game, like, it's gave us a lot of, like, we don't want to be in that position again. We don't want to walk away feeling like, oh, we could have done this better, or we could have done that instead of whatever. So, we've walked away from it, we've regrouped, we've watched the film back individually, we've watched it back as a team, and we've highlighted what we think we need to work on. We actually are quite a different team from last year. Some of our players have left and we've got new players in. So, we've worked on that. We've tried to build that chemistry again. We've tried to play new positions, see who fits where best, and just really see what we gel as best as a team.
Absolutely. And I guess there's, as you mentioned, there's a lot of talent on that team. So in addition, of course, to yourself, Ainsley Barclay and Robin McCluskey, both European champions with Great Britain in 2023, and Abby Coleman, a youth European champion and actually collecting medals with the GB Lions contact team as well. So what does it feel like having that level of international experience in the squad?
Yeah, it's great. Like, obviously we all like to push each other on, and we've got different types of experience there. You've got Robin, who's like leading the defense. We've got Abby, who's just running rings around people on offense, and Ainsley's like cool, calm and collected. She just leads the way. She pushes us through. So I think everyone brings something different to the team. We've got a lot of different personalities there, and yeah, just allows us all to bring out the best of each other.
Excellent. And I think just looking at the, I guess looking at the season that you've had, were there any particular moments that you felt were kind of critical for, in particular match days or opponents in terms of preparing you for finals?
I think you've obviously got the teams that we've played before, like your Manchester, Sheffield, Leeds. They were sort of the bigger games that we wanted to go in and kind of make a statement because we knew what those teams played like. We've played them before, and we could kind of compare our games to last year. Whereas the newer teams, we didn't really know what to expect, and the first time we played them, a lot of those teams were still finding their feet. Maybe the second time we played them, you've seen them improve, and it gave us something different to think about. But definitely, like the teams that were in the league last year, they were the teams that we were looking to go out and put a mark against.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the teams that you had to face in the division was your own East Kilbride Pirates Red. So this is the first time that the Pirates have entered two teams into the league. So what was it like, I guess, having that internal competition between the two sides?
It's really fun. It's something we've wanted to do for years. Like, we've always had a big squad, but we've never quite had the numbers for the two teams. But this year we really pushed for it, and it's left like the black team. There's not many of us. A lot of us are playing more than one position, or we have to be really versatile. But it's been fun. It's allowed us to push ourselves, and we've played the red team. We played in different positions. We put. Like, I played quarterback. That's the worst thing I could do. We tried to make it different, spice it up a wee bit. Yeah.
No, it's great, and I suppose it's all helping to prepare. And I guess one other, theme in terms of the squad is, I guess, the coaching setup, because there's that strong connection between the Pirates women flag team and the Glasgow Hornets. I guess that's another team that knows what it's like for a number of years, in fact, to get to British finals and just fall at that short final hurdle before finally winning last September in Manchester. So has any of that experience, I guess, rubbed off from likes of Nicky Farrell and Andrew Gibson in the camp?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we a lot of the girls are playing with the bees anyway, so we train with the boys once a week, which we obviously, we get a lot from that, and it was great seeing them actually put that over the finish line this year. Well, last year now. But like coaching wise, like they bring a lot to the team, and for them to know what that felt like at finals last year, it meant a lot, and it really pushed us to try and mirror their success this year. Like, we want to take that home too.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a really exciting game day. Again, obviously we've spoken about the Cougars and the Samurais matchup, but I think likewise for yourselves facing off against the Flame and hopefully in two more games from your perspective, it's going to be really, really exciting to see. So similar to what we've done before, we're going to speak to Meg from your quarterfinal opponents, and then we'll bring you back to chat through the matchup itself.
Perfect.
Thanks, Lizzie.
So now we will move on and talk about the London Flames. So we have the fabulous Meg McDonald, who's been waiting very patiently to talk to us. So thanks so much for joining us, Meg. Before we get into the regular season, unfortunately, we'll talk about it. You broke your leg in the off season, which has resulted in a lot of time away from the field for yourself. So first of all, how is your injury and how has your recovery been so far?
Yeah, thank you. It's been long. It's been longer than I thought, which is probably shorter than what other people thought still. It originally happened in July, so I was playing maybe the second to last game in the Prem with Spark, which is the third team of Smoke. I was actually a teammate as well. Total just freak accident, nobody's fault. They had, of course, done a surgery to put a metal bar through the leg. Nice and strong now, so I hopefully will not have a re-injury there. But I was off my feet for 2 months, maybe. And since then, it's just been working to build the muscle back up. Obviously, there's a lot of atrophy and stiffness. I got on the field for the first time in Tampa in January, around the same weekend as Flagging New Year, and found that I could backpedal slowly. But running forward wasn't really something I could get past, maybe 40% speed. Since then, it's been a lot of rehab, a lot of gym still, but even just as of yesterday or Saturday, the running forward is definitely a challenge. It'll be a long process of rehab and getting back.
But we will get there.
Yeah,
I'm
excited to be outside. I'm excited to be playing and involved in football in so many different ways as well.
Yeah, because that leads me perfectly on, because obviously kind of during this season you've spent obviously a lot of time obviously as a supporter, but you've been been doing your team management and your coaching, and how has that been for you kind of adapting into those kind of roles?
Yeah, it's very new for me, but it's been such a huge change, such a huge opportunity. Flame is associated with Smoke, so it's technically Smoke's first women's team. But it came from a decision of a couple of us Sax in the City players from last year, being able to work with and leverage Smoke as a club and also be alongside some of the guys who have been incredible in helping with support and training. The process of signing up the team and recruiting and getting kit done and planning trainings and bringing on a head coach and then getting to game days and finding 100 different complicated just things to manage and coach, everything from like roster management to stats if they were needed and social media and things like that has been such a whirlwind. But obviously a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot about coaching and working as a team leader in a different aspect. Probably more than I've learned in the last couple of years of playing, to be honest, especially when it comes to, I'm a defensive player primarily, so strategy and tactics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think obviously you've already touched on it, for anyone that's kind of looking and seeing the
it's like Meg's read the notes. I just don't know how she's done it. She's filled them perfectly, genuinely.
Yeah, it's a brand new team, but in many ways it's not, because you really did come from Sax in the City, who were very successful, particularly in the international scene, and winning various different tournaments. So I guess what was it like going through that process of change, which has been a theme for most of our guests actually this evening, when you're actually not just converting as a team, but the team itself is changing?
Yeah, it's so actually I think 4 or 5 of us came from Sax in the City, and that would be me and Kate Bruinsville, who primarily it was the 2 of us that were making the decisions about what we wanted to do this year. And then we had Shifa Martel and Jacobed, who both they were with us for the first time last year, and they're both GB Silvers players. They're a bit younger, and so the 4 of us knew that, we wanted to play together, and they had brought in some of the girls from their program. But ultimately, it came down to a decision of were we going to stay Sax in the City? Would we potentially work alongside Dukes and everything that the UK Dukes are doing, since that's what the international Sax in the City team has converted to? And then as I was playing alongside with Smoke throughout the summer, and maybe 4 or 5 of the girls that I had met and recruited were coming to all the practices, the Smoke guys had expressed interest in fielding a women's team. It made a lot of sense to move and make that combination. And we spoke with Kenny, who did all of our coaching last year, and said, do you think this makes sense? And he actually recommended one of the players as our head coach, because he's worked with MJ, who is one of the GB youth coaches for quite a long time. And actually, I think that was one of the best decisions that was made. So it's been supportive all the way through, and a lot of different people that have been able to help me out. But it's definitely been a lot of decision making throughout the process.
No, it sounds great though, and it's good. It's amazing to see, because obviously this is just the start of it. So how it will continue to obviously grow throughout, for the foreseeable future. But we'll kick off and we'll start with the beginning of the regular season. So we start 4-0 on game day 1 with a points difference of 214-6, which must be a pretty good feeling to start your season off that way.
Yes. Yeah, we knew that a bunch of us were obviously involved in the seasons last year, so we were excited that we had some of the B teams or the easier games with our first day, which gave us a real good chance to get our feet underneath us. You don't, as Ellie said earlier, you don't go in expecting a win, and we were very nervous coming into it anyway, because we were hoping, but you never know what happens on the day of. It was a great opportunity to make sure everybody got on the field and see where people's skills were and how that played out in a team dynamic, especially with a lot of the new players that came in.
Yeah. And then obviously we had a tough game day 2, going 1-3 with losses to Cougar, Panthers and Amazons. And then halfway through the season, obviously you're 5-3, so we're not in the worst capabilities, but we're not, did you kind of feel there was maybe a drop in how differing it was between game day 1 and 2?
Yeah, it was definitely our first challenge, and it highlighted a lot of the things, like every challenge does, a lot of the things that had been glossed over. I mean, coming from my point of view, I feel like it's mostly coaching and management errors that are highlighted, but I'm sure everybody felt differently about mistakes that they made and things they had to struggle with. For me, it was very clear that there were some things that needed to be given to the team to handle on the field to help work out the kinks of things like communication with defense in a way that I had been a part of last year, but on the field, and this year was trying to facilitate, but can't, right? Because I'm off the field. And if that connection is not built with the players on the field, they're constantly looking up to the sidelines for the defensive calls. They're not communicating the way they need to. So that was a big piece within, I think it was game day 3, where we just had to take a step back and say, make your own calls, because we had been sort of micromanaging a bit too much. I say we, I mean mostly me, because I think even micromanaging over MJ, and he was just trying to, work with me. But a lot of the team dynamic was figured out in the game days 2 and 3 when we have our losses or when we struggle. Even in games, I think we went in really wanting to beat Amazons for maybe that game day 2, and that one hurt us. And then I don't think we recovered as strongly as we wanted to. So the resilience that we've been talking about was definitely not something that was built right away, and maybe came back up through the rest of the season.
Yeah, because obviously then we spoke about there about game day 3. So we trade wins and losses across game day 3 and 4, which meant then you go into the final weekend with a 7-7 record and needing to win your 2 games to make the playoffs. So how was the mood in camp ahead of that game day 5?
Yeah, we were very, very excited. We came in from game day 4 without our quarterback or our starting center. Kate was an amazing stand-in for quarterback in the first game, and she did really well, and we ended up in game day 4 actually subbing in a girl that's new with us this year. Her name's Petia. I've played with her recreationally for years, and she became a star in the second, third, and fourth games as quarterback, and we were sort of able to get really amped after that, and that put us in a good spot for game day 5. But we had lost to the Huntsmen on game day 4 once, and of course we had lost to Amazons before, so this put us in that round robin competition for the third and fourth place on that last game day. We did we had the game day in London in one of the venues that we do a lot of the mixed games, and we asked and brought a lot of the smoke guys in to support, and a lot of the sideline was really encouraging. So it put everybody in a really excited mood, and it was a beautiful day too. So.
Always good when the weather is on your side as well. So you had a comfortable win over the Amazons, so it was 45-7, and then you had that nail biter against Leicester, where you prevailed 27-25 to be here to chat with us tonight. So how were that nerves in that last game? I can imagine it just went down.
Yeah, it was switched. We actually had the Huntsman game before the Amazons game.
Yeah.
The Amazons Huntsman game was first, and we were watching. I was watching because I think the girls were warming up throughout the whole game, nervously. It didn't have a huge impact on us, but if, for example, Leicester had lost, it made a bigger difference. And leading up to this game day, maybe 4 or 5 different people are messaging me with all the different combinations of scores and wins and losses that could possibly happen. I said, I don't think I can think about it anymore, but watching that game, I think actually Amazons did a really, really great job at shutting down Leicester's offense. I'll say I think they did a better job than we did. So that game was very close, even though Amazons didn't bring their quarterback. They couldn't have their starting quarterback that day. But they did a great job shutting down the defense. So hats off to them. Towards the end, it was definitely in Leicester's best interest as well to not take big risks because they needed that tie. So we went in there knowing that our big difficult game was then, and we were fired up, we were warmed up, but they had obviously been warmed up coming off a tough game as well. With that game and the feeling at the end, that was, I think I was in a little bit of tears. There was a lot of excitement on the sideline. There was a lot of drama on the sideline as well. I think our supporters got very, very, interested and involved in the game day. And then we had the Amazons, and I think that, they're struggling without the quarterback was big, and we were coming off a big high. I think we were just, playing at our best.
Yeah, we were just set. The motion was in. We were in the motion, and we were going for 100%. Well, congratulations on making it to the quarters. We're looking forward to seeing you in just a couple of weeks. But we'll now bring Lizzie back on, and we'll discuss your matchup.
Just like that, she's back. Head to head. So, similar to what we just done with Ellie and Holly, we now look ahead to the quarter-final matchup between the Pirates and the Flames. So, I guess, Lizzie, we'll come to you. Obviously, you're facing off against new opposition for the season in the Flame. Again, that's the wonderful wrinkle of finals, is that we start to have these big cross-conference matchups. So, what can you expect from the unknown?
Yeah, we're just excited to play some different teams. Like, it's been quite a long season, and it's obviously been very different playing the 2 different conferences. So we're just excited to go in and play some different teams. We've done the prep. We think we're ready, and yeah, as much as it's a new team, we, like as Meg said, we know a lot of the players. We've played them before, so like there's still an element of surprise. We don't know how they play together, but we know each other and we think we're ready.
And I suppose it's probably worth acknowledging that to that point around familiarity, that both of you have just come back from Great Britain trials this weekend. So I suppose even that kind of gives that extra opportunity to get a feel for, if not the teams, and certainly some of the players that will be making an impact, and getting the intel.
Yeah, I've played with you, Lizzie. I've played with Abby. I've played with Faye. I have never played with Ainsley or Robin because I don't think we played them last year in the finals, and so I've never played against EKP or anything. So I'm definitely excited to see that chemistry come together.
And Megan, you've obviously talked about kind of specialising in the defensive side of the ball. How do you think that the Flame will try to handle what's been to this point a free scoring East Kilbride side?
I think we are going to try and use our heads, and that means knowledge of the players a bit, and maybe try and see what we can do in terms of film and keep our eyes on. I think Ainsley, I've heard, is a very, very good quarterback, but she's not just got a great arm. You guys have a lot of double QB and running skills on your side, so we're making sure we're prepared and training for all kinds of different situations, and not just looking in the air for the ball.
And one of the other things I guess it's going to be really interesting, this is Meg, you talked about the importance of home field advantage and having that support for your final game day to clinch your place at finals. This is a matchup where you'll be travelling the longest distance of all the sides at finals. What will that be like in terms of the impact of coming up north?
Yeah, a lot of the girls have never been to Ravenscraig, so we are staying together, and we'll be traveling together and doing some support as a team. I'll definitely have to put on my game face against some of the Scottish friends that I have, and we won't be talking or smiling until afterwards. But in general, we were just up for Ironman as well, and I really love the area. I love Glasgow. I love Ravenscraig. I think the community there is great, even when we're playing against each other. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. I guess kind of flipping that on its head, Lizzie, you really do have the home field advantage. You can get a home cooked breakfast and bring hopefully support down to Ravenscraig. So what does that mean for not just yourself, but for the Pirates as a team being so close to home for finals?
Yeah, it's great. We love doing a team breakfast before finals, just have something to eat, get all the fuels out, get ready before we get to Ravenscraig, and then obviously it's great having the guys that we play with can come down, our friends, our family, and just see where we actually spend all our weekends, because flag takes up so much time. And yeah, it just feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that the finals have been live streamed, but certainly I think there's no substitute for being able to catch the action in person where you can. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great to have everyone together, and hopefully there's going to be a big support, not just for the Pirates, but for all the sides. I guess just reflecting this as well, I guess obviously, Lizzie, you've got the experience of having played in the national final against the Cougars last year. Meg, obviously the Flame are yet to have made it that far, brand new team for one thing, but you do have that tournament experience. As we mentioned, the Sport Mondas, the big bowls, Pink Bowl. At the end of the day, all the records are equalised now, and it's just a case of win 3 games and you can be national champions. Do you think having that experience of playing multiple tournaments is going to be a boost to you?
I think at our last finals, we had 5 people and 5 girls playing, and that was, well, with Saxon City, of course, that was due to some roster rules that were in place last year. We didn't have the the rosters submitted, so a lot of the girls weren't coming up as eligible. And that was my first Ironman experience. It was also my first tournament experience. I think it was maybe 5 games throughout the day. And what I didn't realize before, but we got to the plate final, and I think all of us were barely there, 20% of our brain power trying to go make plays. It wasn't going to work out. Since then, especially when it comes to the regular trainings, everybody's new but has built up a lot of endurance. We did have a couple game days that were 3 or 4 games, so I'm hoping that that will, prepare us. We also, our starting lineup is made up of now, I think for offense it was all 4, all 5, and then for defense it was maybe 4 or 5 of our starters that were at GB this weekend, so we're used to the full days, the long camps. It's been the off season, but everybody's getting back into it. So I don't think we're bringing a huge squad, but it will be great to make sure everybody gets on the field and stays refreshed.
Absolutely. I think, we've got 2 teams now that are really starting to establish their identities, and obviously, both well deserving of their spot in national finals, and it's going to be all to play for, and we're absolutely here for it. Can't wait to see the action come up in a little under 2 weeks' time. So again, best of luck to both of you. Really looking forward to seeing what I think will be a superb matchup, and we'll see where the day takes you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And with that, we're coming towards the end of our show. We do have Ellie to bring back in just to say thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, Holly from the Lead Samurai has had to leave us a little bit earlier for work commitments, but I think it's been great to have really every team from the finals represented over what will be the course of a 2-part special, just to hear the experiences, the expectations, the excitement from those who know it best, which is yourselves, the players, and in fact coaches as well. Really just want to say thanks to each of you for joining us this evening. First of all, to Meg, Lizzie, and Ellie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Faith. Really enjoyed it. It was really interesting actually hearing, Meg, your perspective as like the coach, manager, and Lizzie, your perspective from kind of the Northern Conference as well. Looking forward to seeing you both on finals day.
Yeah, this was a really cool format. Great job, guys.
I won't take credit for it. It was all Dan. He's in the background somewhere. I also should make a point. Ellie in a previous pod said that she would bring me a T-shirt for the Cougars. I will accept bribes. I will accept bribes for anybody else. I'll happily swap in and out T-shirts. So again, I'm open to whatever freebies I can get. But I am expecting my Cougars T-shirt.
I'm glad you reminded me.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks to everyone for joining. And just a reminder that this is part 1 of 2. So we will be joined later on this week, although we'll be dropping next week, by representatives of Manchester Titans, the Sheffield Giants, the Coventry Panthers, and the Leicester Huntsmen. So, as I say, we did promise we give you the full picture in terms of finals day. So we're really looking forward to hearing from the rest of the sides, and potentially, ladies, your opponents in semi-finals and beyond. So really looking forward to it. So thanks once again for listening. This has been Tartan Touchdown. Please don't forget to follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and of course wherever you get podcasts. But until next time, we'll see you soon.